2015 and 2020, we saw the percent being mid to upper 70s. Had in region 1, and the other regions, some of the other regions, percentage of 64%. So they're about 64% thereabouts. So in these elections, I think political parties will be eyeing that as well, and they would want to be able to see either similar numbers or what we saw for the discipline services being 83% thereabout, and 83% out of a total of about 10,000 plus thereabout, which means that for the discipline services, it means about 8,000 plus discipline services, men and women, would have cast their ballots in these elections. So that's very, very important. That's key information that the political parties would be paying very, very keen attention to as it relates to these elections, to get a good sense of what they need in order to get over the line. The People's Progressive Party, of course, Dr. Jaddio mentioned that they're paying very keen and close attention to those numbers. I'm certain all the other political parties, you do have the Partnership for National Unity, We Invest in Nationhood, Forward Guyana, ALP, all of those political, and the AFC as well, we're paying very keen attention to voter turnout here in Guyana. So we're going to be tracking those numbers and keeping very, very close eye as it relates to the similarities or the differences compared from 2015, 2020, and obviously for this year as well, to get a good sense of where we're heading. We do have a couple hours left before polls are closed, like I mentioned. They're closed at 6 o'clock. But just in case you head out to vote and there's a line at 6 o'clock, don't be alarmed. Once you're in the line before 6 o'clock, you'll get the opportunity to cast your ballot once you're in that line before 6 p.m. Later on today. And I mentioned all those observer missions that are here in Guyana, ensuring that people get an opportunity to vote. And I'm certain it's going to happen throughout the day as well. They're going to be there just in case you're in a line and you just so that you're not disenfranchised. They're going to pay keen attention to that as well, just to give you that opportunity to cast your ballot. And of course, the OAS is one of those groups that are here in Guyana, and we do have a message. Well, we spoke earlier with Bruce Golding, who is a part of the OAS Observer Mission here in Guyana.
Giving me this opportunity to brief you on what we have observed since we've been on the road since morning. The OAS teams are on the ground in 7 of the 10 regions. And so far since morning, we have been able to visit 342 polling stations. We're going to be continuing that effort, and we'll be visiting more polling stations as the day progresses. Our observations are that, by and large, things have been moving smoothly. All of the polling stations that we visited, with the exception of one, opened promptly on time, and that one had a difficulty because when they started out, they didn't have the screen for the polling compartment. But that was quickly corrected, and they got the polling station going. All of the required polling officials, the presiding officer, the assistant presiding officer, the poll clerk, the ballot clerk, all of them were in place. All the materials that were required, with the exception of the one I just mentioned, were in place. So generally, we were satisfied that the polling exercise started out, and up to the last visit that we made and the last report that we got, everything has been proceeding in an orderly fashion. I was particularly impressed. I myself visited 62 of those 342 polling stations since morning. And I was particularly impressed at how professional, how well-trained the polling officials appeared to be. They knew what they were doing. They were not hesitant in applying the relevant rules and guidelines. And all told, things have been going well. There's one little discrepancy that we saw, and I'm not sure if I should call it a discrepancy. In some polling stations where we visited, the polling compartment, the screen, was fixed in such a way that it faced the wall, so that you couldn't see from outside how a voter voted. In some of the polling stations, we noticed that it was the opposite, where it was turned around. And when I inquired why that was so, I gather it was in relation to this effort to prevent voters from photographing their ballots, where it was put in such a way that the officials and the party agents would be able to see whether anybody was, fiddling with a smartphone. I don't blame that on the presiding officers. There seemed to have been some lack of clarity in the instructions that they were given. But certainly the instances that I observed, once a person went there with their back to everybody else, it would be difficult, if not impossible, to see how the person voted. So I believe that where that occurred, it was more out of an abundance of caution rather than any attempt to circumvent the process. At all of the polling stations that we visited, there were party agents in place. In most cases, at least 3, and in some cases more, so that the party seemed to have been quite vigilant in ensuring that they had, the ability to scrutinize the process. We did see some lines, not very long, but I would think in some of the cases that I visited, there perhaps would have been close to 20 persons in the line. But I didn't get the impression that any of them was growing impatient. They seemed to have been waiting patiently. And the process for getting them into the polling station, checking their ID cards, and allowing them to vote was moving smoothly. We're going to continue for the rest of the afternoon, looking at the polling station, just seeing whether things continue to proceed on that track. And then we are going to be present at a number of the tabulation centers this evening after the votes. Well, we're going to be witnessing at as many polling stations as we are able to cover the actual counting of votes and the preparation of the statements of vote. And then we will move to the tabulation centers, as many as we can cover, to watch the tabulation process. We don't know how long that will take. We don't know how far into the night that will go. But we're going to drink some black coffee and stay there as long as we need to, because we want to see this process through to completion. So all told, I think the people of Guyana deserve to be congratulated on the peaceful, disciplined way in which they have gone out to cast their ballots. I think certainly the polling officials who are representing GCOM also need to be congratulated on the very professional way in which they have been carrying out their duties. And I expect that the rest of the process will attract the same kind of discipline, orderliness, and professionalism.
Yeah, folks who've already participated in the process throughout the day so far really should be congratulated and commended for the way you've conducted yourself throughout the different polling districts and the different polling stations across Guyana. Like I mentioned, some 2,790 polling stations all across Guyana. You really must be commended for the work there. And of course, Jamaica has their elections coming up in just a matter of days as well on September 3rd. So I think all eyes will be on that as well. We were talking earlier about the elections offenses, and just to give you a sense of some of those offenses, if you're going to be heading out to the polling stations, or if you have voted already, some of the things that you should know as it relates to your conduct within the parameters of the polling station. And it says here that folks should not vote in the same election. No person is allowed to vote more than once in the same election. Voting or attempting to vote, if you're not qualified to do so, is an election offense as well. Voting in the name of another person, it is an election offense as well. If you're going to be canvassing at the place of poll within the 200 yards parameter, that is an election offense as well. If you're going to be removing or defacing the property, particularly as relates to the notices posted by the Ghana Elections Commission. That is an election offense. Deliberately obstructing or interfering with the voting process or the work of election officers, that is an offense as well. Any person that is found guilty of those election offenses may be fined, or you could be imprisoned for that. So just bear that in mind. If you are going to be casting your ballot later on this afternoon, and you're going to be heading out to different polling stations, just know that. Or if you casted your ballot already, that is information that you should know as well. Voting is really, really easy. You talk to anybody who would have gone to the polling stations to cast their ballot, they can tell you how easy it is. A number of the polling stations have these information officers or clerks out there, just in case you may have alpha splits at your location or the polling place where you're scheduled to vote. There will be those persons who will be giving you a sense of where you need to go. So, for instance, when I voted this morning, there were alpha splits at the polling station, the polling place where I needed to go, and they were able to direct me to find the exact polling station within that polling place that I need to cast my ballot. So it was very, very easy. The lines weren't that long as well, and it was so easy to do so. I know President Ali as well this morning cast his ballot, and he spoke about the ease of doing so. The process seemed very, very seamless as well. And we're going to head over to get a sense of what President Ali spoke about this morning when he spoke to media or reporters rather this morning.
Good morning, sir.
So what do you think about the turnout?
So it's early in the day, but as we had said in our message to our supporters, we did everything to plan. A fantastic campaign we ran, very positive campaign. A campaign based on track record, a campaign based on trust, commitment, one that is based on unity and our country moving forward together. Now, as we said, the final part of this journey, the victory, is for all our supporters to come out and ensure that they cast their vote, and continue to encourage all of them to ensure that before the day is out, they come out in their numbers and cast their vote and seal this victory.
You're confident about the victory?
Very much so, very much so. Very confident about the victory. You saw the campaign we ran, the numbers speak for themselves. But as I said, sealing the victory is important, and that requires all our supporters to come out and ensure that they seal the victory with their vote.
Mr. President, last evening there was that incident. There was that incident last evening with the officers assisting in the transfer of those ballots with the boats and coming under fire from the folks in Venezuela. How concerning is that, and what updates can you share this morning?
So, first of all, it is concerning. We have had the fire from the Venezuelan side a number of times in the last couple of months. So, of course, it's concerning. The security forces are on full alert. They have the strength and they're ready. They have the equipment, and we have to understand the threat of Venezuela. We have been speaking about this throughout the campaign, that Venezuela is a threat, and we have to look at every single connection to that threat, and the security forces are on top of it.
What plans do you have to beef up the capacity of the GDF and the police in that area of Guyana?
Well, without going into details, I can tell you that the Ghana Defense Force has beefed up its not only troop, but they are in a better position. We've invested a lot, as you know, in the military. So I'm confident with what they have on our borders and the systems they have in place.
And do you support the removal of Mr. Maduro with the assistance of the
But we're not going to get into that today. Today is a beautiful day. We are voting for victory today.
But yourself and Prime Minister President today will have endorsed the operations by the U.S.
I have made it very clear that Guyana, we support democracy. We will support anything to eliminate any threat to our security in terms of not only our sovereignty, we view our sovereignty very seriously, but also we live in a region that all of us must come together to fight transnational crime, to fight illicit drug trade, and we will support every effort to smash the illicit drug trade and transnational crime. We have to be part of every effort to tackle transnational crime. And wherever transnational crime is, whilst whilst I've said this, we have always said consistently that this region must remain a zone of peace, and we will do everything to ensure that this region remains a zone of peace and support every effort to ensure that this region remains a zone of peace.
Do you plan to give better boats and better technology to the soldiers who patrol?
Well, Shabral, I think you're behind time a bit. If you follow the investment we're making, I can't speak about the type of investment from a military perspective that we've been making, but I can tell you we've made serious investment in the military, and they're far better equipped as I speak to you now.
Mr. President, in the event that the election results should go your way and the other side display a certain type of behavior to create some level of unrest, because that is a concern that persons in the Caribbean have right now. What are your plans?
Listen, we have said very clearly that these elections must be peaceful, and we must all accept the will of the people. This is part of democracy, accepting the will of the people. And the security forces have said very clearly, very, very clearly, that should anyone step out of line, and step out of line in terms of the law, that they're prepared to deal with that. So I leave that in the hands of the security forces.
Mr. President, a picture of your index finger.
Madam First Lady, too.
Yeah, President Ali there addressing media early this morning as he cast his ballot, of course, and just briefing folks on some of the other things that are happening here in Guyana as well, and just some information for the folks who are going to be heading out to the polling stations later on to cast your ballot. As I mentioned, that you do have a little bit of time because the polls will close at about 6 p.m. thereabout, but just in case you are in the line before 6 o'clock, you will be allowed to cast your ballot. And it's so important that you do so. Some information that you need to know. Cameras are not permitted inside of a polling station. So just in case you'll be heading there to cast your ballot, know you may have your cell phone on you. They may tell you that you can put it on a desk, which is an area designated for that, or they can ask you to turn your cell phone off. I know these are some of the encounters that folks that have had visiting different polling stations. So according to GCOM, there are no cameras that are allowed in a polling station. And if you're found guilty of selling your vote, you will have to pay a fine of some $65,000 plus months in jail, 6 months in jail. I don't think anybody wants that. So just ensure that you conduct yourself in accordance with these specifications from GCOM and, of course, the law as well as it relates to some of the things you can and cannot do when conducting or casting your ballots in these elections. And it's so important that you do so. So many people already have taken the opportunity to do so across the length and breadth of Guyana. And we're going to head over to some of them to hear their reactions of how easy was the process. Did they think it was necessary for them to cast their ballot? We're going to hear from some of them now.
I came home to vote because my voice matters, and home is where my heart is. And I believe in building a better Guyana for the future of the people of Guyana. So cast your vote.
In Session 3, everything was simple, free, quick, smooth and nice.
My name is Aziz Khan. I'm a security at DDL, and I live at Patentia, Tufile. I just voted, and voting was very smooth. Everybody was cooperative.
Why did you decide to come out today to vote?
Well, now I'm a voter, so I vote regular.
What would you say to other Guyanese that said that they are not voting today?
Well, I tell everyone come out and vote for your own party choice. It's your right.
And it was actually very easy, just go in. They went to the farm, put me to swear on the oath, and that was it. Very easy.
The process was good, smooth, in, out, X's, and that's about it.
My name is Della Moore. I voted at Wales Primary School, and the experience was good. It was no problem, it was just smooth going.
My name is Ivan Ali, and the voting was smooth as ever, peaceful. So everything okay.
Yeah, those are residents or citizens rather who would have cast their ballots this morning in these much anticipated or very important elections across Guyana. And again, if you haven't done so, just ensure that you head out there to cast your ballots. We do have some 757,690 eligible voters across Guyana in these elections. And compared to the other years, in 2015, we saw some 570,787, and in 2020, some 661,378. And if I come back to my screens, just to give you a sense of what was happening there in these elections as well. So we saw in 2015, we saw that number of 500 and, let me see if I get this here, 570,000, they're about 787. In 2020, we saw 661,378. And in these elections, like I mentioned, we have 757,007. This is a 5, by the way. 7,690, thereabout. So if we look at the percentages so far for these elections compared to the previous one. So from 2020, we saw an increase of about 90,000 plus, thereabout, which represented a 15.9% increase there for the elections from 2015 to 2020. All right, and then from 2020 to 2025, this represents a 312 electors who've been added to the list of electors for these elections, which represents thereabout some 14.6% thereabout for these elections. So if you look at these two from 2015 to 2020, we saw 90,000 plus. In these elections, we saw 93,000 plus. In 2015, it represented 15.9%. In these elections, it's 14.6% thereabout. Overall, from 2015 to 2025, it represents some 186,000, thereabout 903 electors between 2015 to 2025 in these elections, which is about a 32.7% increase of the list of electors from 2015 to now. All right, so these elections, we have a number of folks, young people, a number of first-time voters as well who will be added to these elections. Like I mentioned, some 27,000 plus thereabouts. So these numbers I can mention, again, political parties will be paying very keen attention to those numbers. And of course, paying keen attention because obviously you want to ensure that in the regions where you maybe consider or maybe consider to be your stronghold, so to speak, that you'd want those voter turnout to be very, very high to get the kind of numbers that political parties will be looking for in these elections. And earlier, we heard from President Ali, who cast his ballot earlier this morning. We're going to head back over just to get a sense, well, not President Ali, the Vice President, sorry, who cast his ballot earlier. And we're going to check with him again to hear some of the things that he spoke about when he spoke to media operatives a little while ago.
So I just casted my vote for the People's Progressive Party, Civic. It's a great day for Guyana. So far, from all I've been hearing, apart from the minor glitches, things are going extremely well across the country. We urge people to come out and vote. The PPP is very confident going into these elections, largely because of our track record and what we continue to offer to the people of this country. But elections are won on the basis of votes casted. And so I urge all the PPP supporters to make sure that you get out there and vote. So far they've been coming out, and that they do so early. And so let's cement this victory.
Have you got any feedback as yet about the voter turnout this time?
Internally, the party is tracking this, and it's good.
Dr. Jaggi, do you mind sharing what are some of the reports you have received from your party agents so far for the day?
There are several reports that are not unusual on polling day, and I do not want to elevate them to intractable problems. The other political parties and their leaders are magnifying minor issues, and so far all of those matters have been addressed promptly by GCOM whenever they come up or they're identified, and they cut all across the country, from issues of the stamp not working and then they fix it, to other issues of the sloth in some polling places. These are normal things that happen around election day.
Have you received any reports of persons with disability having difficulty in trying to cast their vote?
So far, personally, no, but there may be cases. I can't say for sure that it has not happened, but so far I had no such report.
And from your recollection, is there any issue at the West Rumveld School, I believe, that you've heard of?
No, not a particular issue. There was an issue in Sophia when the leader of the opposition showed up there and was trying personally to rearrange the furniture in the polling place. GCOM addressed that matter, and we choose not to elevate it into anything major. But he should not have done that.
What's something that you've seen major improvements on since the last election?
Well, clearly now that everyone is equipped with a manual, the presiding officers, the polling agents, political parties, the candidates to the poll, which clearly outlines the roles and responsibilities of every actor in the electoral process. We have less room now for capricious action on the part of any actor, whether they're party agents or staff of GCOM. And we suffered a lot in 2020 because instructions were changed several times in the course of the day and during the evening and during the recount by the chief elections officer, the deputy chief elections officer, and Mr. Mingo, which led to a lot of confusion on election day.
And now that the campaigns are over, how do you feel about the work that has been put in? And also, how confident do you feel of the party's victory?
I'm very confident. I said this at the last rally we've had. We've put in the work. We have gone across the country. We've had a great feedback. So far, from what I see today, it's heading in one direction, which is a PPP victory. I've been assessing this since 4 in the morning, or getting our agents out and everyone else. So it's largely because of what we mean to Guyana, and not because we're special, but because we have kept faith with the people of this country. When people are at home, even today, and they're making that decision to vote or for whom to vote, they clearly would do so conscious that they could be putting at risk their own prosperity and their own futures. And I think we have a lot of conscious voters in this country. And once you have conscious voters, the PPP will do well in that scenario.
What would you tell to young persons who are now voting for the first time?
Well, I say the same thing. Do not get carried away by, the short snippets on social media, because this is a social media generation, the new voters. And I urge them to think a little bit harder about their own futures and which political party offers the best choice for their prosperity at a personal level, whether it's education, healthcare, getting a job, owning a vehicle, owning a piece of land, and building a home. And I believe the PPP has outlined clearly a youth development plan that no other party can match in this country.
How have you seen young people supporting the party through the campaign?
Oh, this has been really, really phenomenal. If you go to our rallies, you see the energy at the rally. And a lot of that energy came from the youth, the young people associated with the party. Young people of every race, every religion coming together. And it mirrors a bit of the work we did after the party's Congress, where we got together the largest youth movement in Guyana, a 15,000 strong youth movement of PYO members from all the regions of Guyana, made up of everybody, people of every race, etc. Because that's what the party is about.
Dr. I know that GCOM had issued strong warnings against vote buying, and this morning we saw reports of Win activists in Providence within the security HUD offering monies to persons. Is this something that you're
Oh,
concerned about?
I did not see that. I saw a lot of rumors that they were spreading about the PPP, and I choose not to ignore those today. Today, I got up this morning and I wanted to be entirely positive about the day and about the future. And so I'm not going to dignify those rumors with detailed comments. Just to say they're dangerous. We had warned about this. Even in the last rally, I said, over the next few days, you will be subjected to these rumors. They're designed to do two things, to mislead voters and to also prepare themselves, an excuse for themselves when they face impending defeat. But if there is a clear case where there is evidence of someone buying votes, then this is illegal. GCOM should take immediate action and call in the police on this matter. It should be done immediately. The intimidation will not work today, as we have seen across the country. The police have been doing a good job so far, and from all assurances we have been given that the police and the army and everyone, they're ready, our security forces, to ensure people's lives and properties are protected and we have a peaceful election day.
The opposition rhetoric of intimidation you've been hearing over the past couple of weeks. What would you have to tell people about it?
People are not ignoring this. APNU has waged a campaign of intimidation, calling people's names. First, it's about the PPP, a whole negative campaign, going back into the distant past, resurrecting falsehoods from the past, focusing on racism, and then for the thousands of Afro-Ghanaians who have supported the PPP, they chose, rather than to respect their choice, they chose to vilify them. And the other party has led a campaign of deception and subterfuge. So they would never give you a straightforward answer on a straight question. It is always in circles and then using a social media platform that is curated, that excludes others from commenting on their pages. So people can't go there and interrogate their positions. And so this is what we have had to contend with. On the other hand, we've spoken heavily about what we have delivered. We've spoken about our plans for the future, and we've spoken about the capability of our leaders to deliver on that plan. And we have spoken overall about national unity, bringing our people together. 4 simple messages to the voters. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just recapping some of the things that Dr. Bajagdio spoke about earlier when he spoke to reporters there after he had the opportunity to cast his ballot. And just like the Vice President did in casting his ballot as well, it's so important that you head out there. Just in case you haven't done so, it's so important that you head out to wherever you're listed to cast your ballot to do so. Remember, you can check the Ghana Elections Commission's website. You can type in your name, your first and last name, your date of birth, or you can use your ID card number, identification card number, and you'll be able to see exactly where you need to. Just in case when you head to the polling station and there's alpha splits there at the polling station, there are going to be information clerks out there to give you a good sense of which part of that polling place you need to be able to go to cast your ballot. Remember, you do have until about 6 p.m. thereabout to do so. And just in case you're in the line before 6 o'clock, you will be given the opportunity to cast your ballot even after 6 o'clock. Once you're in the line before 6 o'clock, you'll be able to cast your ballot once the time passes at 6 p.m. Now, just to give you some information from the Ghana Police Force, we've been talking a lot about infractions or offenses or some of the things that people should be very mindful of when you're heading out there to cast your ballots. The Ghana Police Force reminds the public that knowingly spreading false information with the intent to create fear, panic, or public disorder constitutes a serious offense under under Guyana's laws. Now, under the Criminal Law Offences Act, which is Chapter 801, any person who indicates others, who incites rather others to commit wrongdoing or attempt to create unrest commits an offense and will be prosecuted. Under the Summary Jurisdictions Offences Act, Chapter 802, it is also an offense for any person to aid, abet, or incite unlawful behavior. In addition to Cybercrime Act number 6 of 2018, it makes it an offense to use a computer or a social media platform to knowingly spread false information or to incite hostility or public disorder, including the incitement of racial or ethnic hostility or the advocacy of violence or unrest. Now, these provisions apply whether the offender is in Guyana or overseas as well. If the effect of the act is felt in Guyana, the offense is prosecutable under the law. So just bear that in mind if you are going to be heading out to cast your ballot, or even if you're at home, you've casted your ballot already, just be mindful of some of the things that you can and cannot do. Now, earlier we were talking about the number of voters here in Guyana, and one of the things we should let you know, particularly for these elections in 2025, is that you have those same regions that I was alluding to earlier, which Region 3, Region 4, and Region 6. There's some information that you should be aware of for these elections. I'm going to head over back to my board just to give us a sense of what I'm talking about. So I have general elections here, and let's say for Regions 3. All right. So for Region 3, because it's a very large region, they were able to get these regions into sub-districts. All right. And so you have sub-districts 1, 2, and 3 in Region 3, which would be this sub-district 1 is the Essequibo Islands, Essequibo River. Sub-district 2 is St. Lawrence and Cornelia Ida, and sub-district 3, which is Hague and Arabia Creek. All right. So because of the large number of persons that are scheduled to vote in this region, which is 116,875, this region has been split into these 3 sub-districts. And the returning officer for this region, as in the district number 3, is Rakesh Ramsamu. All right, so Rakesh Ramsamu is the returning officer for this particular polling district, which is polling district number 3, and you have these sub-districts, and each of those sub-districts has a supernumerary returning officer. All right, so each of them has a supernumerary returning officer slated here. They're all going to be reporting to that the returning officer, like I mentioned, which is Rakesh Ramsamu. If I go to region number 4, because of the volume of people that is scheduled to vote in this region as well, Region 4 has a total number of votes in terms of 323,437. All right, 337. So this region or district has been split into 4 sub-districts. Now we have sub-district 1, which is East Bank of Demerara, sub-district 2, which is North Georgetown, sub-district 3, which is South Georgetown, and then we have the east coast of Demerara, bringing in the makeup of region or district number 4. And that gives you the total of 323,000, like I mentioned. So the returning officer for this region is Jerome Singh. Jerome Singh is the returning officer, but each of these sub-districts has a supernumerary returning officer as well. And the east coast of Demerara, here we have Alexandra Bowman. The east bank of Demerara, we have Narima Azad Lidra. North Georgetown is Mohammed Karamula, and Brandon Kargu is the supernumerary returning officer for South Georgetown. And I mentioned the other region, which is a very large region in terms of votes as well, which is Region 6. And Region 6, like I alluded to earlier, has a total number of votes of 111,554. So this is the total number of votes for the Region 6, and they've been split into 3 sub-districts as well. Sub-district 1, 2, and 3. Sub-district 1 is East Bank, Berbice, Kanji. Sub-district 2 is Upper Quarantine, and then we have Lower Quarantine as well. The returning officer for this polling district or this region is Sunil Ramdial. And each of those sub-districts, they also have a supernumerary returning officer for each of them. And this one here, which is East Bank Berbice, Avinash Rambarose is the supernumerary returning officer for that sub-district. We have Upper Quarantine, which is Kellyanne Matheson, and Alvin Garnett is the supernumerary returning officer for this region. So that's some important information to note in these elections. There's a difference with elections here in 2025 in that we do have those larger regions being split into sub-districts. There are 3 for regions, 3 for region 3, 4 for region 4, and 3 for region 6 as well, given the volume of people that are slated to vote in those larger regions. Just to give you a sense again of what you should do when you head out to vote in these elections, it's very, very easy to do so. Like I mentioned, if you don't have an ID card, I know a number of people this morning, when I went to vote this morning, a number of folks were saying, I don't have an ID card. Will I be allowed to vote? Yes, once you don't have an ID card, you've been registered previously with the Ghana Elections Commission. You probably lost your ID card or it was stolen or whatever it is. You and your name you would have voted before. Let's say you voted in previous elections. You don't have an ID card. You will be allowed to, once your name appears on the list, official list of electors, you can be able to do so. All you need to do is you go to the same information clerk. If you're looking for the split, they direct you to the polling place. You have to give them your name, your first and last name, and your date of birth. They'll be able to locate whether your name is on the list or not. You go to the polling place, the polling station, and the poll clerk will look for your name. And once they are able to locate your name on the official list of electors, and then you'll be sent to the presiding officer. The presiding officer then will issue oath of identity where you affirm that you do solemnly swear that you are the person you are claiming to be. Again, once your name has appeared on the list, you have not voted already, and then you will be issued a ballot. So it's that easy. Once you do have your ID card, similar process, but this time you'll be directed to the assistant presiding officer who will then issue with your ballot once you are in a possession of an ID card. All right, so it's that easy. You really shouldn't worry. Head out there, vote. If you have to wait in line for a bit, just ensure you do so, because trust me, once you've done vote, you've already casted your vote, you're going to feel that you've really contributed to not just the democratic process, but you're basically giving your voice a say, so to speak, in these elections. So head out there and vote. Most of my colleagues have already voted already. And everybody, my colleague was telling me a little while ago, it's Ink Day, or Ink Finger Day as it is called, and everybody's proudly showing off their inked fingers. And I'm sure you're one of those persons who want to do that, just in case you're into social media as well. All right, so we'll be bringing you extensive coverage for since we started here in our studios at 5:30 this morning. We've been bringing you coverage all throughout the day, and we're going to do that all throughout the evening as well, as we're going to be back with you. Once I'm done, another colleague is going to be joining you here on set to bring you much needed information, and then our coverage continues way into the evening. So all those folks who've been commenting, we see those comments. For those folks who voted already, we want to thank you for voting. If you haven't done so, please ensure you head out there and vote. I think we have some comments. If we can head back to some of those comments on the outside, we've been talking to a lot of folks throughout the length and breadth of Guyana, and folks have been letting us know how easy the process is and whether or not they're excited to cast their ballot. We're going to head over to hear from some of those folks who voted already.
It was very easy. I didn't have any problems.
And for younger persons like yourself, what would you encourage them to do?
I would let them to know come out to vote.
And what was the process like this morning voting?
It was very good. It was fast, reliable. I didn't waste no time.
Yeah. And for persons that are home looking, especially the younger ones that are voting for the first time, what would you say to them?
Come out and vote.
Just show me, what was the process like casting your ballot this morning?
It was smooth sailing, I have to say. The process was very short. Once you get into the building, it was like about minutes.
And for persons that are at home and haven't voted as yet, what would you encourage them?
To come out and cast your ballot. It is your democratic right. Encourage people to come out and do.
Yeah, the process was very easy, and it was encouraging to vote because it was fast. And anyone who had any doubt, was slow or anything, or we have any problem or lines and stuff like that, we shouldn't bother with that. It was very easy. I get it right away. Didn't even last time for 2-3 minutes, and there was it.
Okay.
And I have to be full.
Any final encouragements for Guyanese who would, who's probably deciding if to vote or not?
Well, they should vote because the country is growing very fast, and we're having a lot of opportunity to get up in life. You know, a lot of stuff is going on, and we might not understand it now, but we will understand it later in life. You know, as we get older, always it's very important to have certain things in our life. You know, so things like that we should need as Guyanese to learn, because I grew up in the hard times. You know, where we could never had afford to get a house lot. I had to struggle to buy my own land, my own house. I could not own anything. Nobody give me anything. So I struggled even to buy stuff for our workshop. We used to have to fight hard for repair them over and over. Could not afford to go to a store and buy something brand new, or like what people do today online. We couldn't do that then. It was a big struggle. The blackout wasn't easy either. Sometimes the blackout lasts 3-4 days. You can't store nothing in your fridge. Everything spoiled. You know, it was like you couldn't push your business hard. You didn't get enough rest. And when you sleep in, you don't have a fan or air conditioning. You really not get a proper sleep. So things like that are bugging a lot. So today is far different from that, you know, from then. It's a big improvement. So the young people today should know that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm a first-time voter. We voted at the aquatic center. Everything went smoothly. Came in. Everything just went smoothly.
Yeah. And for persons within your age range that might be voting for the first time as well, but they haven't voted as yet, what would you encourage them?
Come out, vote for the party of choice. You know, is your right to vote.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, very peaceful and quiet process. Love that.
And for persons who ain't voted yet, what would you tell them?
I would love to tell them to come out and vote in numbers.
Okay, it was just a walking process. It was very easy. I never expected this storm go wrong. But last year it was a bit, difficult compared to this year's.
And for Guyanese who may still be deciding if to vote or not, what is your advice for them?
Guys, you need to come out and vote. It's very simple, easy. It's not long you guys are taking.
Good morning, guys. My name is Devin Erskine on behalf of Frontline Security. I came down to vote this morning. This is my second time voting. The process was quite easy. It's hassle-free. The process is very smooth. There's no trouble. I would like to encourage others to come down and vote this morning, because it's your right to vote, and you have the right to determine what betterment you want for your country. That's it. I would just like all those first-time voters, second-time voters, come now and vote.
How was your experience this morning?
It was nice.
Can you put up your container?
So what would you say to some young persons who are still contemplating if they should come out and vote? What would you say to them?
Oh yes, do. This is your right. Come out and vote. This is your right to vote. This is your right to your future. Yes, come out and vote.
Come here and vote this evening, and it was very smooth and no problem. You guys could come out, all the young people, and this is a little encouragement to the young people, so you could come out and vote, so you could make the right choice, and you know the best.
It is your right, your future. Obviously, it is so important. Like echoing the same sentiments of some of those folks who spoke a little while ago. Head out there and cast your ballot. Indeed, we have seen throughout the entire day. We've heard from a number of folks on the ground as well, and seen those images of people in and out of polling stations, getting the opportunity to cast their ballot in peace. And we've heard from a number of observers as well. They've been talking about what's happening on the ground. It's being a really easy process, smooth process, so to speak, no major hiccups. We've had a lot of religious leaders as well who've been outspoken on social media, ensuring that Guyanese, one, head out there and exercise your franchise, but at the same time are being respectful or mindful of other people who may have similar or different political views to you, that you create an environment where everybody can be able to coexist in peace and in harmony. So we're going to head over to some of our religious leaders with some messages of hope and inspiration for us.
As we gather for such an important season and also an important day, September the 1st, for a national decision which will be made on Elections Day, September the 1st. This is a season that is not just about our votes. It's not just about voting, but it's about reaffirming our shared commitment to the democratic country we love, the country we cherish, and the country we all live in harmony, side by side on the horizon of a very bright future, inshallah. Elections may bring differences. The elections may bring differences. However, the differences that it brings in opinion, it should not cause difference in our hearts. It should not cause division in our hearts. We may support different parties. We may have difference of opinion. But let us remember the very core, the very values, and also the motto of our beautiful country, and that is one people, one nation, one destiny.
My fellow Guyanese, as elections draw near, let us remember that we are one people with one destiny. Our voices may differ, but our love for country unites us. Peace is our strength, and harmony is our duty. Let us respect each other, listen with open hearts, and reject division or violence in any form. Every vote counts, and every citizen deserves dignity. Together, we can ensure that our elections are safe, fair, and free from conflict. Guyana's future is bright when we stand as brothers and sisters, side by side. So let us walk in unity, speak with respect, and keep the peace. For our children, for our nation, for us all. Remember, Guyana shines best when we shine together.
As the president of the Virat Sabha Guyana and Pandit in charge of the Alexander Village Vishnu Mandir, I would like to encourage all political leaders, supporters, as well as well-wishers to accept the results of the election, both general and regional. Election is about being in competition, and there should be no eliminators at the end of this process. There will only be one winner. And as such, the results should be embraced by all of our citizens in harmony and in peace. Let civility prevail. Civility costs nothing, but buys everything. I therefore encourage all, especially our Hindu brothers and sisters, to contribute towards the peace and prosperity of our country. May God bless all of you, and may there be no hostility and aggression during this period. Our country cannot afford losses through destruction of infrastructure and intimidation and personal lives. We therefore call on all to support peace and tranquility in every corner of our country. Thank you.
My fellow Guyanese, Christian greetings to you. I am Pastor Oliver Moore, the Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Director of the Guyana Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. At this sensitive time in our country, I take this moment to appeal to you for good sense, respect, civility, and peace to prevail among us as a nation. The Bible reminds us in the book of Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 and 7, that we should not be anxious for anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. There are 3 points that jump out at me from this text. The first point I would like to share with you is, do not become anxious for anything, because as you would know, anxiety can create negative emotions in us that might lead us to harm or violate others. Hence, I challenge you to wait and be patient on the result. Let God take charge. He is still in charge of our universe. And let's be patient and wait upon him. He will direct all things. Point number 2 I would like to share with you. The Bible did say that we should pray about everything. And so I would like to say it is important that we pray sincerely and continuously for our nation during this sensitive period. Pray that everybody will respect the other person's freedom to choose whichever political party they wish to vote for. Pray that God will guide all in the right direction. Pray for civility during and after the tabulation of the votes. Pray for those in charge of the elections. Pray that they will be true and honest in the process. Point number 3 I would like to share with you from the text. It says that God wants to give us peace, and his peace is able to keep all things the way they should be, in a way that will bless all persons. And so I want to challenge us to seek God's peace over our nation at this time. There is nothing else that can preserve unity and good relationship among our people like the peace of God. So let's pray and seek God's peace.
Right, so there we heard from our religious leaders, rather, our Christian community, Hindu, Muslim, of course, we had the Rastafarian community as well. They're just urging folks across Guyana who are going to be participating in these elections to ensure that you conduct yourself in a manner, one, like I mentioned earlier, where you respect the rights and views of other people so we can all coexist. I mean, it literally is your right, your democratic right to be able to head out there and cast your ballot for the political party of your choice. And even if somebody else's views are different from yours, it doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot coexist. So just be mindful of that when you're heading out there. Everybody's views may be different, and it's so important that we respect the views, points of other people as well. All right, one of the leaders were talking a little while ago about the results of elections here in Guyana, which dates back all the way to the 1960s. We've gained independence in 1966, and we've had elections in different periods in 1968 and let me see if I pull this up here. So we had elections in 1968, 1973, 1980, 1985. We had elections in 1992, 1997, 2001, 2006, 2011, 2015, 2020, and these elections here in 2025. And folks have all throughout those periods have gone out there and exercised their franchise and done so, and you have the right to do so as well, to cast your ballot. All right, we're standing by to head over to get some comments from Mr. Lennox Shuman, who was able to cast his ballot as well this morning, earlier today, just to get a sense of what was happening from the area that he voted from. Remember, we have 10 polling districts. We have folks who are going to be voting in some of the very far-flung locations across Guyana, and our hope is that once they do so, we get a chance to be able to speak with them to get a sense of what's happening on the ground there, because folks out here on the coast, we might have experienced something different to what folks are experiencing in the hinterland location, or something similar. So Lennox Shuman, we're standing by to get a chance from, a sense from him what was happening in that location there where he would have cast his ballot. And remember, we're heading closer to the 3 o'clock hour, which means that we have about 3 hours thereabout before polls will close across the country. And once there are lines at 6 o'clock, polls will remain open to facilitate those persons who are in the line. By 6 o'clock, the police officer will be the last person in that line once folks are in line by 6 o'clock, and then polls will close, and then all eyes will turn on to the tabulation of those votes that were cast throughout the day. One of the things I must tell you is that the Discipline Services, they cast their ballot on the 22nd of August, which was 2 Fridays ago, and those ballots were sent to the different polling districts that those police officers, soldiers, or even the prison officers were from. So remember, you have police officers and soldiers, and these guys were working in areas where they're not from. So for instance, you may have a guy from New Amsterdam who works at Ivlery, and he voted at Ivlery. The ballot was then placed in an envelope with his polling district on it. And of course, that will be sent to the polling district where he's scheduled to vote, and the polling place where he's scheduled to vote in the polling district. And then that ballot will be intermixed today. So it could be done at any point of the day. It could be done at the end of the day. If there's an ease in the day where nothing is happening in the polling station, the presiding officer can decide that, hey, we should intermix these ballots, and it's done in the presence of everybody in the polling station. That might be a process that happened already this morning. It may happen later on in the day. So those are things that you should know. Those ballots will be added to the ones for ballots cast by folks today, and then later counted at the close of poll. Like I mentioned, we're checking in with the folks across the region. We do have Lennox Shuman, who voted earlier in one of the far-flung communities. We're going to hear from him now.
We're here with Mr. Lennox Shuman. Tell us a little bit about the electoral process here, not just in Batavia, but across Guyana. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I voted in St. Cuthbert's, Pakuri, this morning. And then I went to Caro, I came here to Batavia, just basically following up and supporting our comrades. And what I can say is that the process has been very smooth, has been very peaceful. What I do like about the GCOM staff is that they're very methodical. There's no room for error, right? They go through a check, ensuring that everyone is who they are, or who they say they are, cross-checking your identification and everything else. Obviously, when you have to go through such a robust process, it slows the machinery down a bit. But I think outside of that, it has been fairly good. So far, in some communities, we are looking at about 50% complete, which is right on mark, yeah? For halfway through the day. It looks pretty good so far.
And one of the most important questions I want to ask, right? Why is it important for our indigenous brothers and sisters to come out and exercise their constitutional rights?
Well, I want to say that today I exercise more than just one constitutional right. I also exercise the right to my tradition, my culture, under Article 149G. I'm wearing a cassock. It is the start of Heritage Month, that's one. It also is ensuring that I continue to exercise sovereignty. My sovereignty is to be able to elect the people that will lead us, right? So it's my sovereignty that I'm doing, and my right to belong to a political organization and right to vote. So there are a lot of rights that I exercise today. And that being said, I think it is important for indigenous peoples to have our voices heard, right? Politically, we have to be part of the political equation of Guyana. We have to be able to contribute to our destiny. And the way we do that is by electing a political party that supports our people and supports all of Guyana. And I think by us being able to do that, it gives us an opportunity to also hold the government accountable, right? And if indigenous peoples don't like what a government is doing, then we have a right to vote them out. And in this case, I would say that the government has been doing a fantastic job, and I sincerely hope that that registers with the indigenous peoples in Guyana, and that we re-endorse and support President Ali for a second term. And I say that because we have seen what the People's Progressive Party Civic has done through their history from 92 to now. Every time they're in office, the country moves forward. Indigenous peoples benefit. And I think by doing some of those things, looking at it, exercising our sovereignty in that sense, our right to cast a ballot, it provides now us an opportunity to shape our destinies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shuman.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly for the period there, 2020-2025, Mr. Lennox Shuman, who gave us some insights in terms of what happened where areas where he voted. And he spoke a lot about the National Assembly. And if I can come back over to my board here just to give you a sense of what we're talking about. So we know that we have the proportional representation system here in Guyana. We've had that system since 1964. And there are a total of, if I can pull this up here, it doesn't, all right, let me see if it allows me to draw. And we know there are a total of what? Some 60, so it doesn't allow me to draw. There's a total of some 65 seats that are up for grabs in these elections. And traditionally, we've seen, again, since I mentioned elections from the post-independence period, we note that the number that you're looking for is 33, thereabout, and 33 is a majority of 65. So, folks, that is the number that the political parties will be looking for to ensure that they are able to, one, not just form government alone, but be able to control this arm of government, which is the legislative arm of government, which is so important as well. So there's 65 seats up for grabs in these elections. The votes are tabulated at the end of the day, like I mentioned, in different polling districts. Then we'll be able to get a true sense of which political party may be given or allocated seats based on the votes that they were able to amass throughout these entire elections. So that is something that you should bear in mind as we head closer and closer to tabulation period later on today. I think all eyes will be very, very keen, paying very, very keen attention to what is emanating from the polling districts. What happens at the close of poll? Obviously, once the polls are closed, then the GCOM staff will be making way for the count a little bit later on. Like I mentioned, that once polls are closed at 6 o'clock or shortly after, depending on what's happening in the lines, you get a true sense of what has happened throughout the day, whether you have spoiled ballots, rejected ballots. You may have some of those depending on the circumstances, but we're not really looking forward to any votes being spoiled or rejected or whatever. So once you head out there to vote and you don't know how to vote, just indicate to the presiding officer or the assistant presiding officer, depending on who you send to, that you haven't voted before, and they're going to show you. There's that sample ballot that they have, and they're going to be able to show you how to vote, and of course how to fold it as well, because that is important. You need to fold it in such a way that the numbers, which is the numbers or the 6-digit stamp, the numbers there for that particular polling station is going to be reflected on the ballot and it's inserted into the ballot box. So just in case you don't know how to vote, again, just indicate to them and they'll be able to kind of run it through with you. It's very, very easy. It's not a hard process. Coming up at the top of the hour, I got my colleague, Mr. Mark Watson, who's going to be joining us at the top of the hour as we are looking to wrap things up on our program for this segment. And I mentioned we've been doing this for the entire day. We started off at 5:30. We've had different folks at different periods of the day coming on here. My colleagues have been bringing you lots of information. Mr. Watson is going to join me now. He's going to be coming up at 3 o'clock. Mr. Watson, how are you doing today, sir?
Great. It's a long day, a day when we expect everyone to come out and do their part. It started from 6. We saw persons coming out early in the morning.
Yeah.
And the practice is you've got large numbers in the morning early.
Yeah.
When it's cool. And you've got those persons going out and doing their thing. And then there is somewhat like a staggered thing. You don't see a whole lot of people when the sun is up.
Yeah.
And pretty much the pattern is between 9 to just about 3.
Yeah.
We've got really sharp sun. And
Yeah.
so as the fall just getting down to the bottom, just about now, you're seeing the numbers building up. I just came from the East Coast, and so of course I casted my vote.
Yeah, good. I like that.
On my way coming down, I did see those lines getting a little longer again. So we're going to have down to the close of play, as you say with the umpire, before the umpire signals at 6 o'clock. And we need to let people know as well that 6 o'clock doesn't mean cut off. It simply means that the line, the last person in the line, the security will go to that last person.
Right.
Then
So they need to be in the line by 6 o'clock.
At 6. So, and then everyone there will be allowed to go forward and cast their ballot.
Yeah.
So we're saying to you, get in the line before 6, even if you want to be taking advantage of the cool weather. Get in the line before 6, and you will be allowed to cast your ballot.
Traditionally, you've had an opportunity to work multiple elections, to cover a lot of elections here in Ghana. You've gone out to vote at your polling place. What have you seen in terms of, you mentioned folks taking the opportunity to vote early in the mornings because of obviously people trying to beat the heat and then coming back later on in the day. You said you came from the East Coast of Demerara. What were your observations when you went to cast a ballot this morning?
As I was explaining to Nadia during Guyana today, because I sat with her after a long time this morning on the show, the East Coast is kind of funny. It's kind of strange in that you've got, it's like you've got elderly folk being aided by young people, a whole lot of that. So the grandmas and the grandpas are being taken out by their grandchildren or someone in the community. So there was a whole lot of that this morning. but it's all family. It's all family because as you're passing generally sometimes at the polls, you're seeing people that you haven't seen in a long time
Yeah.
in the community. Everybody's working, so you might be up and about doing your own thing, and you see each other there, and so it's like a merriment. So
Yeah.
when you finish casting your ballot, there's a little chat at the gate. You see the little groups huddling,
Yeah.
and the conversations happening, and so that continues to happen. I go further down the East Coast, that's a little different where
Yeah.
you've got, in some areas, you've got the pots being cooked to the side of the streets and
Yeah.
stuff like that, the guys
Yeah.
hanging, and the girls too. And so there is a conversation generally moving forward as it regards to where the country is going to be in the next 5 years. And what
Yeah.
I love too about it is that you've got, everyone has something to say.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their conversations happening. And
Certainly.
you've got the pot boiling there, you've got place passing and somebody taking a bite, that kind of thing. Guys driving by, they pop horn, signal somebody that they may know, they
Yeah.
stop, they take a bite, that kind of thing. And so this is generally, and that's why I think our process here
Mhm.
is unique. And I think the attitude of our people is unique as well. And I don't believe that Guyanese are going to be creating a ruckus of any kind.
Yeah.
And so far, it's been great. The attitude has been great. The behavior from the public has been great. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to continue down to the end.
Certainly, I agree with you, and I note as we head closer and closer to the 6 o'clock hour, it is going to be rush hour because
It is
a
gonna
number of folks.
Yes.
There are a lot of people who like to wait at the last minute. I got some friends this morning. I was trying to get them out to come vote when I was voting, and like, no, we're going to wait until the
Yeah.
close of play to vote. I don't know what is the rush. What everybody likes the excitement, but
I don't like the umpire making a call on me. I want to make sure I do my thing right.
certainly, I don't like that either. But I must commend you though for heading out there and vote. Young people that are watching, there are a number of people who, for one reason or the other, are saying, "I don't want to go out and vote today." As somebody who's done this before, what would you say to them?
It's important. Let me tell you what. If you're talking about moving your country forward, now every time there is a conversation,
Mhm.
you want to be a part of it. You want to be able to participate. And so, first you should be paying attention to the issues, paying
Yeah.
attention to what's happening, development, and everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And so, when your opportunity comes, you have a chance to cast your ballot.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Things are happening at the end of the day. You're having a conversation, but you're really not participating
In the process.
meaningfully because you're not doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
And so I think for our younger folk, they should start taking things serious very early.
Mhm.
And I believe once we start having that happen, that we're going to have, not that we don't have a smart population, we really do.
Yeah.
Trust me, we're aware of what's happening. But I think to pay more interest,
Yeah.
especially the younger folk, surprisingly, almost all the elderly folk in my community,
Mhm.
only those that are bedridden, I haven't seen there this morning.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it really speaks to how the older folk take, the governing of our country and the kind of thing. It's a little bit more serious on their side.
Yeah.
And I think our younger people are beginning to do that. I think
Yeah.
we're seeing the numbers.
I like it. I like that. And I like when our young people stay engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to come up, you're following me right after?
Kind of, I'm following greatness. So I hope I can continue in your track.
I'm certainly going to do well. Stick around. Stick around for Mark Watson. He's going to be on from 3 thereabouts, and we're going to continue with our coverage as Ghana decides 2025 here in these very important elections, and we're going to continue with our coverage all the way into the night as we bring you those much anticipated results here. Stay tuned to the National Communications Network. This is Ghana Decides 2025.